Okay, so Nan, I really appreciate you doing this interview with me, and Henny and I had been talking to you, I guess, over the last few weeks about doing this interview, and you had just shared about how some of the things you've been using, some of the training you've been using from us, and had the value of getting it from it. We did an interview with you on Blog Talk Radio, and then I thought, well, why not reciprocate it and do an interview with you? So I really appreciate you doing the interview with me. And just to introduce myself, my name is Steve Martile. I'm from Blogging for Coaches, partnered with Hanny Mora. We run that website, which is a website dedicated to helping coaches get clients and using blogs and blogging. And Nan Ross. So I guess, Nan, what we'll do is start. Just tell me a little bit more about you and how you found us. Or before we even get to that, when did you start blogging, and why did you start?
I started blogging in '08, and the reason why I started blogging, my primary profession, I'm a graphic designer. So I've noticed that the industry was declining, and I wanted to get into I wanted to find something that was still creative, but at the same time, I can be teaching and coaching. And that's what I love to do, because I've been doing that since I was 12 years old. So actually, my son got me into blogging and talking about social media, because he was always on YouTube, and I used to yell at him, like, get off YouTube, you're on it too much, until one day he was like, Mom, just try it out. So I started, signing up for some social networking sites. That's when I started with Facebook and LinkedIn, and then I started blogging. Now, I didn't know what to talk about, so it took me a while. But actually, from the past year, that's when I became a little bit more active in the blogging sphere. That's when I realized, okay, this is what I really wanted to do. Okay. So when the learning, the training, the research, I just love it. So now it doesn't feel like work, but it is another form of income.
So what is your blog? So you give a little plug, but so what is your actual blog? What's your blog name?
It's corporatecosmo.com, and basically what I do is provide a platform where I can have preferably unemployed people, because that's what my target market in the beginning was, for those who may have a job, can't stand their job, but they need to know how to use the social media platforms to brand themselves and maybe pick up another skill. So that's who I was targeting originally. So okay. I just started blogging about, social media, using Facebook, starting your profile, blogging tips. And then that's when I started the show, because I knew at the time it was something I was still learning, but I wanted to provide more valuable content. That's when I started inviting guests onto the show.
Okay, so just so the coaches listening understand where you're talking from, is that you actually have the blog, you run a blog, and on top of the blog you actually run a radio show on the side that works with the blog. Is that right?
Yes. It was a great way to come up with content.
Smart, really creative.
Sometimes just coming up with content is so difficult, because there's so much information out there. You don't know where to start. And once you start getting the feedback from your community and asking them questions like, what do you need to know about social media? And then once they tell me, okay, Nan, I need to know about, generating leads, or it could be how to use Facebook, or how to build a community. Of course, I use my blog to teach them, but at the same time, I go and find experts who can come onto the show and give out more of the expertise or more advice that could take them to the next level.
Oh, okay, got it. That's really creative, and that's actually an awesome way to do it, because you're still considered you're positioning yourself as the expert because you're bringing in the experts, and then therefore bringing a lot of great content, and then attracting people that way. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. So I was considered more of like a thought leader or facilitator. That's the perfect word for it. You know. And then now, I mean, just connecting with my influencers and my network and agents, and then my community. Now I'm considered more of an expert, but I never ever feel I know enough. That's why I still bring more people like you and Hanny onto the show, because y'all blogging experts. You know, I'm not a blogging expert, although I know a good bit about it. But you know, when you came along, I knew it was like, okay, these guys, they know what they're talking about.
And you know, that's something that you're going to continually do, and that Hanny and I continually do. We're continually modeling and learning and like watching what other people do, and then continually trying things, and some things just don't work and other things work fantastic. And we're trying to share, you know, with our subscribers and our followers and people that want, you know, coaches that really want to build a business with their blog, what's been working for us. And that's primarily what we do. So
Yeah.
before we get into that, I'm curious, like before you even got started blogging, or before you even got into YouTube, or even Blog Talk Radio, any of that, what did you see as like the major challenge or obstacle holding you and your business back?
The blogging, writing.
So coming up with content, or?
Well, it wasn't so much of coming up with the content, it was organizing it and put it in a format where people could understand. I'm a techie geek. So sometimes I find myself writing more on the technical side versus writing for novice.
Okay.
So I felt it was good to maybe use other vehicles and other media, like the video. I've noticed that the video tends to gravitate more people because they looked at me as not just a techie girl, but as someone who was so down to earth and had personality that they started to understand, and I actually caught their attention. But it was more of the blogging side of it that I knew that I needed to work on, because it wasn't my strength.
Okay. And so what was the biggest like obstacle when you first started? Like just getting the blog running, or did that, it sounds like, you know, you were more tech savvy, so you could get something started up like that, maybe, you know, probably on your own. Was it like getting traffic? Was it trying to monetize a blog? Like what did you find the biggest challenge when you were first getting started?
You know what, Steve? The biggest challenge I had in the beginning was fear. That I didn't think my content was good enough to compete against the big guys. Once I got over that fear, which it took some time, it really took some time. Once I got over that fear, then it was basically scheduling, have a consistent schedule. Am I going to blog once a week? Am I going to blog twice a week? So I've noticed in the past I was blogging, you know, twice a week, and then sometimes it's once a week, and then sometimes it was every other week. So it was really hard to actually put down a schedule, a time management schedule. Because you got to remember, I had a full-time job. I also am a independent contractor, so I'm a freelance graphic designer. Plus, I'm doing social media. So it was overwhelming.
Plus, you're a mom.
Yes, a single mom too.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're a real supercharger. That's awesome. And I can totally relate to what you're saying about the consistency, because, you know, for me, when I first started writing, it took me like 4 or 5 hours to write a really solid article, and I had the same thing come up. Every time I went to publish, it was like, is this going to be good enough? And but just by continually doing it over and over, and that repetition and being consistent, it becomes like second nature, right? It's like brushing your teeth in the morning. You just go through it, and it takes me, you know, maybe an hour or 2 hours to write a good article now. So, and you know, I can relate to what you're saying of being consistent, because I think that, just like to get all the misnomers out right now, there's no get rich quick schemes. You know, it's like, this takes time and effort, and you've got to be diligent and be consistent and keep doing it. And eventually people will start to take notice. I mean, there's a marketing aspect as well, but people will eventually start to take notice. And some people will really like what you got to offer. And the whole thing with, like, how do I stand out with all these other people? That's one of the things that, people will say to me, or I see in comments and different discussions. And it's like, you make your pie a certain way, and only certain people will eat your pie. So, there's another guy down the street, or another woman or girl that down the street that makes pie as well, but they don't like it as much as they like your pie because of the way you make it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. So I think that's fantastic that you got that consistent. You started to build, some following, and you're doing the Blog Talk Radio. That takes a lot of confidence, and the video that takes a lot of confidence to do those things.